self-touching. It's not the ear, but he also has this pen in his hand. And the pen, if you watch Letterman, and I'm a Letterman fan, this pen is always there. It is doing work. Yeah. But they're self-touching at the very beginning. But what he is not doing at all is anything likely, even likely to Edwards, let alone Sanford. But here it goes.
I'm glad you folks are here tonight, and I'm glad you're in such a pleasant mood, because I have a little story that I would like to tell you and the whole group as well. Do you feel like a story?
Yeah, he's announcing the story. This is the story.
This started 3 weeks ago yesterday, and I get up early, and I come to work early, and I go out and I get into my car, and in the back seat of my car is a package I don't recognize and have never seen before, and I don't usually receive packages 6 in the morning in the back of my car. I guess you can. I guess some people do. So I get to looking through it, and there's a letter in the package, and it says that I know that you do some terrible, terrible things, and I can prove that you do these terrible things. And sure enough, contained in the package was stuff to prove that I do terrible things. At 6 in the morning, and maybe this looks better to you at noon, but 6 in the morning, all you can think about is every terrible thing you've ever done in your entire life.
All right.
So
let's stop here, because I mean, as I promised, but also warned some of you, the more critical people, we are in the realm here of entertainment. But it's interesting how Letterman managed, similar to Sanford, 8 minutes into it, he comes up with, so now you want to know what these terrible, terrible things are. And people, are laughing and, falling all over their chairs. Me too. And then he says, I've had sex with women who work for me on this show. So that's coming out at that point. That's what this is talking about. And that's also where the audience kind of moves into a different audience reaction mode. Very interesting. Again, this is something that I would like to work out. But let's get back to a little bit more of intellectual stuff. So remember the identity dilemmas, or dilemmata. Sameness, difference, agency, passivity, constancy, change. Constancy, change, where narrative is the privileged mode to do that job of fixing past to present, showing the differences and showing the samenesses. So you got a glimpse into how these different dilemmas are navigated. Yeah? And they are navigated differently in different situations. And differently in different situations by the same person. So there are repertoires that are out there, as Hubert said in his presentation at the very beginning, that we borrow, that relying on Bakhtin, nothing has not been said before. I quote this correctly, but you know what I mean. So that's there, but the way it is appropriated and used in order, and now what is the purpose of apologies? There is the attempt to fix what is potentially in jeopardy, the relational work. Yeah. Who was I when we were getting along fine? What did I do? Let's read that in. And can we move on in the way we used to? So there's the transfixing in apologizing or talking about wrongdoings in general. And I think that also applies to a degree to the bad gang that we heard earlier on. What are they trying to do? And the good gang as well. So I think this has repercussions to all kinds of situations of doing the kinds of relational work that we do with saying thank you, as I tried at the very beginning, with greeting or introductions of people. I think this is all the type of relational work here shown with apologies as a genre. and exemplified in particular with a little work on, with a transcript on John Edwards. The levels of positioning I didn't get into, so let's leave that where it's in. So what can we take away with regard to navigation and the role of construction in this? Yeah, what I wanted to show, and also again what I would like you to take away, is that this stuff is going on in everyday practices. That's where we practice it as children. That's where we get these repertoires and use these repertoires and practice them. And in a way, they become part of us. They become so much part of us that we then can argue that they become part of our interior. But you also could see how they become part of our bodily behaviors, of the way we do gaze. Yeah, we do gaze. We do facial expressions. Not that this is conscious or unconscious, but these are parts of practices. Yeah. And the way they are practiced is in these everyday storytelling situations. That's where it's at. And this is the empirical field. First of all, that's one of my other arguments, and that's in particular in my arguments with my colleagues from biography who do big stories, and we claim that we are looking at these small stories that surface and nobody is really paying attention because they are capturing these moment by moment situations and changes. But that's where development, transformations, the big stuff is happening. It's not just in the recollections of what I think happened in my family or 5 years ago or in my wrongdoings. It happens, it can be captured there as well with the techniques I think that we all hearing about and practicing as well. But the primary field I would like to push is this everyday stuff. That's where we have to pay more attention in order to capture better what's going on there. Where we see people or the person as involved, where the person is in moment by moment changes under construction, and this has analytical implications for what we do, because I see myself more and more as analyzing processes rather than products, rather than endpoints. Thank you. We do have some time left, but we also have time to go more into the entertainment tonight. Yes, John.
Okay, thank you. I was struck by how much of an overlap there was between really what I was talking about just before yours and yours, with the sense of agency and that sense of involvement. And I think for me, the key thing between the first man, Edwards was how unevolved he appeared with the telling of the story and how distant and, with how involved Sanders was with his story. And I was struck and said to Harry, how similar Sanders is going into somewhere very painful and very deep was to Scott Johnson when he talked about his experiences from Virginia Tech in what was, and I'm still feeling that emotion now. Yeah. For me, a very powerful session, and that involvement and engagement, and I call ownership, you call agency, and I might start changing it to agency.
Yeah, thank you. Right, and by calling it the performance of how he told the story, I would have loved to have that on video, right? The pausing, it was, and I apologize, I don't have any better terms, but it was beautiful. There's an aesthetic to it. There were other, yes?
I was just wondering if you've done looked at cross-cultural, how much these are specific to our kind of Western culture, or the things you've been talking about.
Yeah, I think they are very much grounded what I'm doing, in particular in the American culture. What we have here is very American, and I do not know. And apologies, obviously. I taught in Japan last summer for a couple of months, and apologies are not done. There are a couple, but then the public apologies are very different, and apologizing is also
So
very
what
different.
do they do at Transparent?
I wish that I could tell you. I mean, more informed. Yeah, I mean, I'm a layperson, but I'm fascinated. And then I think the apologizing in Japanese men and Japanese women is a very different piece of art as well. But this is all very intuitive. But let's get in on a project on this.